This video is sponsored by World Anvil. I love fantasy maps, exploring the unknown, delving into mysterious caves and searching forgotten ruins, sneaking through a sewer system beneath a bustling city, imagining the treasures I'll find, if I can make it out alive. Each location I imagine can easily be created as an article. Throw some bad guys in there, maybe a little bit of backstory about the ruins that were once a prosperous kingdom, and now my world is starting to take shape. World Anvil makes it effortless. Take it one location at a time and throw your players into your world. If you're looking for inspiration on how to get started, check out some of the worlds that other people have made. Some of them will blow your mind. Click the link in the description below and start building your world. And now what you're here for. Furry DM, Gatekeeps, and Bullies an extra cringy player. Hi everyone, All Things D&D is back with another story. I need your help. Who is really the bad guy in this story? The group or the cringy furry? What would you have done to avoid what happens next? I'm in my sophomore year of high school. Friends know I'm a furry and are remarkably cool with it. Other people are cool with it too, since I've treated it like being a fan of the Thundercats and shows like that. No furry paraphernalia either. Halfway through my first semester, a new kid comes to school. A super rich family moved to get richer because of lower property tax and cheaper cost of living. I hear about the new kid and think nothing of it. Suddenly, getting made fun of for being a furry. Whatever. Things begin to escalate over the next few weeks, and I start to wonder what the hell is happening. After a month, the new kid seeks me out and introduces himself by his furry name, North. I just nod and go back to doing my own thing with my friends. He eventually leaves. Kill loves orange soda and fried chicken, also happens to be the whitest guy you've ever seen. A friend of mine tells me about North. Apparently, when he mentioned he was a furry, people got curious and were actually interested, since I did show some people cool stuff like werewolves and the not cringy side of being a furry. According to Kel, North pulled out cat ears and a foxtail from his bag, put them on and started using furry slang. Now, for the reason that I made furry stuff cool with my friends, I made a homebrew D&D setting that was pretty much the new Thundercats, except Mum Ra didn't exist, and humanity was what created the human-animal hybrids during a massive war, before killing each other off or escaping in dimensional pockets outside of time. We played during lunch, study hall, and on Fridays at my place. This is when North became a problem. During lunch period on a snowy day, we were all crammed inside because it's freezing outside. Sitting in the classroom next to the library, I'm approving character sheets with my closest friends for a continuation of a campaign that takes place 100 years after a spell plague. My best friend Panda Man rolled up a warrior, turned into a battle mage because of the sudden influx of magic. We're going over the final details when in comes North. We had tried to avoid him due to his increasing toxicity. Oh, hey guys, can I play? I started to protest. We kinda have a full party. He slapped his stuff on the table and whipped out a binder full of drawings that are half anime, half potato style. He pointed to a terrible drawing of a blue and white wolf with a rainbow tail. I want to be my persona, North. I frowned as I looked over the drawing and shook my head. Can't. He just doesn't fit in. Blue fur like that wouldn't be natural. Especially that rainbow tail. There's no evolutionary... He cuts me off with a rant about if there's magic, then he can do whatever he wants. I don't want to deal with this crap. I sighed and allowed him to have dyed fur, but gave him a permanent penalty on any stealth checks, because of the bright blue fur and a rainbow tail. He then goes on to do what edgelords normally do. He rolls the ultimate warrior who can do anything and be the lone wolf. But he distributed his points all over the place, making him bad at almost everything, and bound to fail at everything he tries. Can't sneak, can't intimidate, can't fight. Great. I approve it because why not? The party now consists of the battle mage Panda, Panda Man, a roguish fox Maxon, a wizardly owl Munin, a luchador chupacabra Libos, and a kobold artificer named Spike. The party decided to head out, but North was doing his lone wolf shtick. He was left behind. I follow the party at a distance, he all about growled. Ah, damn it. The first battle is on shortly after. The party sees North in the distance, because it's obvious, and they think he's having them do all the work, so North can come in and reap the EXP at the end. I'm not having any of that. While North was watching for whatever RP drama he was about to do, a rat highwayman had already snuck up on him and was poised to backstab him. He said, "No, I'm stealthed right now." Roll. He proceeded to roll a 10, which normally would pass, but due to his -10 modifier because of his blue fur, he fails. Miserably. The rat sees you and is very confused as to why there would be a blue wolf trying to hide against the brown/gray ground. The party finished up their combat just in time to see Wonder Dog in action. North lasted a surprisingly long time. He managed a saving throw that only took out half of his health. But any hope there was that he would survive was short-lived. He ended up dying before he could even make a scratch on the rat. Apparently, speccing into dual-wielding for every weapon without any proficiency in any weapon is a bad idea. The party wastes one of the few and very, very valuable res gems I gave them at the start of the game, because they took pity on him. The end of the session was punctuated by the bell to return to class. North was fuming, but he would still return. This is just the beginning. Now, after the first embarrassing defeat, I gave North the opportunity to redo his character before we started again. Friday during study hall, he did redo his character. He looked proud of the revised character as he handed it to me. It is almost identical. The only difference was a huge description in the bio about him being an orphan and more lone wolf crap. He did narrow down his dual wielding to specialize in swords, but still did not specialize in swords, so swing and a miss. He's still a Mary Sue warrior who can do anything, but still can't. Still blue fur. I write on the notepad attached to my screen to watch him try any Mary Sue shenanigans and appropriately punish him for it. We head over to the local card shop. This place was essentially the high five for teens and adults for TCGs as well as gaming. There were 2 back rooms dedicated to tabletop and TCG gaming. We unpack our stuff and set up shop and pick up where we left off. Spike, the party leader, only out of terror, he pulled from the others through his mechanical magicry and attitude towards anything that would slow down his grand plans, demanded the reason why North had jeopardized almost everything and wasted a valuable resource. "The memories," North replied. What? I remembered that rat from when he raided my village and killed my parents. The rat was younger than you. I decided I had enough and did not want something so painfully uninteresting to derail the game. I pulled out a character sheet I'd been saving for when I wanted to play. It was one thing that would take the ever-loving piss out of North's character and make things entertaining at the same time. This character was a love project of mine, a demon/dragon battle bard. After making a terrible mistake in a summoning, the demon fused with him and became a musical demon. Black armor lined with a slow-fading red-to-black trim, just for the edgy touch, and I named him Eusebio. He would not take part in any combat, but he'd really give North a hard time. The ground shakes and flames erupt from the ground a few meters from where the party was camped. A long guitar riff rips through the night, and Eusebio appears out of the ashes. The party readies up for battle, but before it can get started, Eusebio starts singing. He sang about joining the party to become known as the greatest musician. The chorus was about the rat that killed North that was only 10 years old. My friends were laughing and having a good time. By the end of the song, North was visibly angry, but he didn't refute anything, so the campaign continued. Battles happened, treasure was found, and the new battle bard sang about how the party was doing. North decided he had enough of being the butt of the jokes, so he had the idea of making himself the leader of the party. At least, that's what his actions were hinting at. But closing time was soon, so it would have to wait for Saturday. Before the party would be split up, we make plans to continue the game over the weekend. Who would be in charge of snacks, etc. As we're going over the details, North makes his move. As we're discussing whose house we would play at, Libos had been saying earlier that they could play at his house. They had recently had a yard sale, so the basement was empty, and his mom makes amazing churros. "We can have it at my place," said North. "All right then, what about snacks?" "Oh yeah, I'll cover everything," he said. Now, we love it when we don't have to bring everything, but someone supplying everything is unheard of, and we were about to refuse. But he insisted. He wrote down his address, sloppy as hell, but we realized he lived on the well-off side of town, gated community style. So that night I spent preparing for what would be happening next. No need to go out and get food, so I had plenty of time fine-tuning certain parts of the campaign. The next day arrives and everyone arrives at North's freaking mansion at noon. The place was huge by a small town standards. We meet North's parents. His dad's an investment banker and really good at it. Mom was stay-at-home and pretty cool too. Needless to say, this was going to be our first and last session here. North never showed, and as we walked into his room, we were hit with the most powerful reminder of that fact. The room smelled awful. It was a big room, but there wasn't enough room to dull the rancid smell of BO. I nearly vomited in my mouth. Then we saw the room. Furry art on the walls. Nude furry art. What looked like a body pillow in the corner of the room. My friend and I cringed a bit, gagged a little bit more, opened a window despite the cold, and got to work. Libos asked where North set up the snack table. "What snack table? You said you'd be in charge of snacks, dude." "Oh, I forgot." Libos and Maxon were pretty pissed at this, but Spike said it was probably for the best, due to the pervasive stench in the room. We managed to play for a little over 2 hours before we couldn't handle it anymore. We made up reasons to end the session early and bolted. Fast forward a few weeks. North managed to get himself killed again, and nearly killed a second time. He tries wooing anyone he meets now, but thanks to his abysmal charisma, he gets chased out of town by lynch mobs or beaten up. This also marks the time of Kel entering into the fray. Kel was curious what we were doing for some time, but never bothered joining. He rolled up a bull paladin to the god of warriors justice, who would go off for several hours a day in meditation and pray to his god. He was also nudged into the party on recognition of Panda Man as being an old partner when they were mercenaries. This also meant the party had someone that could resurrect. This allowed North to get more careless and end up dying in more hilarious ways. We went over Kel's character, got him some bright shining plate mail, and went over weapon choices. Kel picked steel cestices. When I asked him why, he told me, so everyone could feel the fist of justice. Libos and Kel's characters got along great, and the party had great chemistry, except Kel's character really hated North's character. Kel, being a surprisingly amazing role player, explained that his character sensed a great evil in North, and was being constantly reminded of it by Eusebio's songs. Kel saw the selfishness and especially the vanity that his gods hate so much. So working with Spike behind the scenes, as well as Libos, they worked out a plan together on how to make North the punching bag of the party. North was doing his lone wolf crap in town and was not aware of the plot. In fact, North had just been swindled out of a good share of his cash by a merchant I frequently have the party meet in the wilds. He wasted most of his cash on an ancient sword that not only could he not properly wield, but broke as he sheathed it. So the party heads into town before the first real dungeon. Selling his starter weapons for coin he was swindled out of, North went to a weapon shop that I had intentionally stocked for higher rank stuff, in preparation for what they were about to face. North, however, was not intending on paying for anything. Soon his lone wolfiness caught up to him, and he had a mob of mercenaries hired by the shop owner after North's failed theft. And by failed, I mean critically failed. He rolled a 1 on stealth, and don't forget about his -10 modifier. Not only did the shopkeeper watch him stuff a sword into his pants, he tripped as he tried to run away, knocking over half the stock and damaging most of the shop's inventory. North was running toward the party shouting for help with a mob hot on his heels. Kel took this as a quest for the warrior of justice. He hit North with a beautiful uppercut, sending the blue-furred monstrosity into the air. Kel grabbed Libos by the forearm and launched the luchador into the air for a flying El Chupacabra signature kick with so much power that Libos' legs nearly broke on impact. North's limp corpse flew over the crowd and landed outside the village with a wet smack. North picked up on Kel and Spike's plan and was pissed. They unceremoniously dragged North's body far from the town after getting their supplies. Spike placed a stone on North's body and was revived. Kel had explained to me that through his pleading with the god of warrior justice, that being able to imbue his magic into a stone would not only be useful for him, but it would also aid him should he fall before justice was done. It also served as a way he could revive someone clearly not in his god's favor. I commended him for that. After hearing the news of the ability to revive by proxy, Spike made a series of intricate stones that could be easily enchanted thanks to being an artificer. The tag team attack by Kel and Libos was the real gem of the session. I loved it and called the session there for that day. North was really fuming at this point. I had mentioned Munin earlier in the story. He played the wizardly owl. He didn't have much of an opportunity to do anything besides participate in a fight or two, because North's antics usually forced the party to leave town too early. Munin's family in real life was getting ready to move across the country, so this would be the last session with Munin. Munin had prepared his character so that the owl would be residing in the City of Knowledge, after the dungeon the party had prepared for, while North got his ass handed to him by a Paladin Lucha Libre tag team action. Munin's bones were just getting too old, and his adventuring days were coming to an end. He would retire and spend the rest of his years learning the ancient history of their meaning for existence. North, however, was not happy that someone else was the center of attention. As they were going through the cave entrance to the underground ruins of a city, North was a bit further behind than usual. I mentioned that the ruins had a disturbing sense of order with tall, squarish buildings, gridwork of roadways, and odd signs hanging over them. Before they knew what was going on, the party was surrounded by metal guardians. Spike, being a kobold artificer, had a knack for mechanics and ingenuity. He had already devised a plan that would get them through the situation safely. The Guardians would halt aggression if they saw a strange thin tablet that almost every artificer bought from excavators for this reason. North, who had not read a single word of lore, decided he'd charge in and attack, and in his words, save everyone. By saving everyone, North threw a borrowed sword at one of the machines, and actually destroyed it by hitting a natural 20. The Guardians erupted into action, charging their sentinel lights and their punish rays. Lasers! Kel picked up and threw North over the heads of the monsters, while Libos jumped up and body surfed the flying blue wolf along the side of a building. Yet another death for North. Maxon had just simply jumped up and glued a bomb on one of the robots as she passed over the heads of the Guardians, clearing an explosive path for Eusebio, Panda Man, and Munin. I had Eusebio play a quick haste song, which I sang to the tune of Pac-Man. Soon the party had reached the end of the dungeon, running past the boss and into the treasure room full of artifacts, which were hastily collected. The only way out was a hole in the ceiling to a cave network above, which led to one of the mines used by the City of Knowledge for their excavation. Getting North's corpse up there wasn't so hard, but Kel was failing his climbing rules. It was then did Munin stop his plans for retirement altogether and move to the entrance of the room. He erected a magical barrier that drew on his life force. He told all the party to leave without him, to be safe on their journey, and to not forget their goal. Panda Man took one last look at Munin, and Munin stared back with a tear in his amber owl eyes before being vaporized. As I mentioned, I keep my party members separated if they're apart, death being part of separation. I did just that with North. While I had Eusebio writing a power ballad on the sacrifice of Munin, Spike had dropped a partially heavy redstone on top of North's corpse. North, back in the game, did his usual lone wolf crap and said, guess the old geezer didn't have what it takes to survive. Because North did not hear how Munin truly died, the party looked at him in shock and disgust. After the session, we all said our final goodbyes to Munin, though we made sure not to North. I gave Munin my lucky dice and bag, and a painstakingly rewritten copy of his character's journeys. And that was the last of Munin. This marked the final part of North's involvement in our campaign. It was Friday, and we had planned to meet up in Lebos' basement for the continuation of our lunch session. However, we took note that North had not arrived at the time he usually does, which is typically a half an hour late. We had to wait for him, since he was in the party and he was in school today. We were about to start when North came in. "Hey guys, sorry I took so long." "Dude, we've been waiting forever, what took you?" Kel asked. North had a smug look on his face. "Oh, I was in the office. I'm dropping out." "You what?" "Yeah, I decided I want to focus more on being a furry." We were all shell-shocked at this point. Panda Man was pretty much a furry now, but this was something that would make him question it entirely. Kel broke the silence by laughing. "Good one, dude, seriously, what took you?" North looked angry, and then it all sank in. Soon, we would realize North had more to tell us than he was just dropping out. The game picked back up at the card shop. Everyone was 4 levels higher than when they started, except North. He was hiding in the back of the group the entire time, waiting and not participating in fights. I chalked it up to the lone wolf thing again, but when he didn't participate in the boss fight, I was suspicious. As the final blow was about to be struck on the boss, he made his move by jumping on its back and stabbing it. It was only a minor wound. Kel did something akin to a falcon punch, except channeling all the energy of his holy god into his fist, to obliterate the boss. North thought he scored the final blow, and was already taking what he wanted with the loot, which was everything. Maxon, playing fully into the role, was already raging at this. You don't take a rogue's gold. North went on a tirade on how he was the one who struck the final hit, and it was his kill. He then proceeded to tell the party that he was the leader now, and they needed to listen to him. Everyone was tired of this. At this point, Lebos acted very out of character. During North's tantrum, Lebos snuck up behind North, drew out a bag and dropped it over North's head. Panda Man picked up on what was going on, and cast a snare spell to keep North's feet pinned to the ground. Maxon struck at North's pressure points for a prolonged and painful stun. This all led to Kel going in for a gut punch that would knock North out, not kill him. Then Spike took out a net and tied up North. To finish it all, Panda Man took out a sphere of planar travel that Munin had given him and opened a door to the plane of torment. They pushed North through and tied him to a stake. They ripped the bag off of his head and Spike leaned in close. "Listen, we're tired of you. Ever since you came into our party, you've been nothing but trouble. We're leaving you where you belong, not for our sake, but for the memory of Munin. Enjoy what you earned." They walked away and shut the portal behind them to the sounds of North's screams. At this point, North snapped. He grabbed the edges of the table and flipped it over, screaming at everyone. It was nonsense, gibberish. He burst into tears as he screamed at everyone. The shop owner came over to see what was going on, and we tried explaining the situation. North, I guess, tried to take his revenge. He ran up and threw a punch at me. It was telegraphed and slow. I stepped out of the way, and he hit the store owner square in the mouth. He was banned from the store, dropped out of school, and his life really fell apart after that. One quick word about our sponsor, World Anvil. Every DM should use World Anvil. Keep track of your players' characters, stats, gear, backgrounds, anything and everything with the digital DM screen. Roll dice, build random encounter tables, layer maps for your players to explore. Are you playing on Discord? Incorporate World Anvil into your game to allow your players to lose themselves in the amazing world you've created. Make articles secret that your players can unlock. Let them explore your world in between sessions. Use the session scheduler so no one misses a game. If you're a creator, writer, map maker, portrait artist, or fan of tabletop RPGs in general, you need to check out World Anvil. It's amazing. Click the link in the description below and build your world and share what you make with us. I can't help but think that sure, North is probably not the best. This group really just made that kid a punching bag. Why not just kick him out of the group? Everyone in the story is guilty of being terrible. Please let us know what you think and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D. Our videos are posted every Tuesday and Friday, so stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.